How did you almost die? Lamau. Okay, so I was getting my teeth cleaned, and I get nitrous oxide because I have so many exposed roots. Well, my hygienist at the time was this lovely lady from Minnesota. Kinda flaky, but super sweet, talked about her family all the time. So I'm in the chair and she hooks up my mask, and away we go. I actually fell asleep. Except not so much. Turns out Barb had forgotten to turn the oxygen on and had been feeding me straight nitrous. She only noticed because I started gasping for air while unconscious. So that's how I almost died at the dentist. I never saw Barb again, but I tell you, that was the best nap of my life. I'm actually coming up on the 3rd anniversary of the accident this Friday. I was on my way to work, just kind of cruising along in the far right lane with my cruise control on as I wasn't in a rush and was making good time. I'm not sure if anyone has ever been in a little fender bender and felt that tap, but I felt a little tap and I looked in my side mirror only to see a massive 18-wheeler's bumper basically against the backside of my car by my driver's side tire. The next events are a big mystery to me, thanks TBI, but future crash reenactments basically show that he overtook my vehicle and merged on top of me, trapping me underneath his trailer. My steering wheel was snapped in two, my A-pillar was all but disintegrated, and my B-pillar was pushed halfway into my seat. I came to as someone was kicking in my passenger window. I was bent over the center console and couldn't sit up because of the truck trailer in my seat. EMS got me out and I was rushed to the hospital with a head injury and my left hand ripped open. I should have died. Not a single person who has seen my vehicle understands how I survived. I was at a small music festival with some friends and my then girlfriend. We were all tripping, it was her first time and things were going good. Few hours in, someone hands me a vape pen. Naturally I took a hit, never been a problem before, but apparently these crunchy van dwellers don't know how to properly source their shit. I don't know what's in a bootleg vape pen, but I know I'm wildly allergic to it. Suddenly my ears were itchy. Then my throat. Then breathing got harder. Then very hard. It was at this point I croaked at my girlfriend that we should find me some Benadryl. After 20 minutes of asking everyone we see, best we got is an unlabeled pill bottle that someone said I think the little ones are Benadryl. At this point I'm wheezing and having trouble staying upright. We call 911 and 10 minutes later what arrives but a guy in a truck who's been sent to inform us that an ambulance will not be coming. We're in the middle of nowhere, Georgia, and literally everyone is fucked up. We ask if he can lead us to the nearest ER, he begrudgingly accepts. I think the fact I was turning blue earned me some sympathy, so we find the least fucked up person we can and me and my girlfriend pile into his car and the guy in the truck takes off flying down these dark-ass twisting country roads. We manage to get to the ER, but pop some liquid drill in and a few minutes later I can breathe again. Thank God I was barely 26 and my parents' insurance still covered me. It wasn't the most scared I've ever been, but definitely the closest to death. Before we started asking for help I considered just trying to sleep it off, since the whole no oxygen thing was making me tired. Would have been a real bad way to end my girlfriend's first acid trip, waking up next to her dead boyfriend. Most recently? Getting pregnant. My baby was diagnosed with a congenital heart defect in utero. One that would likely kill him shortly after birth without intervention. A fun fact we learned during my pregnancy is that there are no pediatric cardiac surgeons in my state. I was perfectly healthy except a lot of swelling. At 37 weeks my husband and I drove 4 hours to the next state over to transfer care there for his birth and eventual surgery. I was incredibly sick and the trip took us 7 hours because we had to stop so much. I had a doctor's appointment the next morning and my husband asked if I wanted to eat first, and I said no, I would rather eat after. I live to regret those words because I got admitted from that doctor's appointment with HELLP syndrome. I wasn't allowed to eat because I was being prepared for emergency C-section. First time was when I found myself driving on black ice. The suction from a tractor trailer passing by spun my car around and I landed nose down in a snow-filled ditch. 5 feet from a bridge. Second time. Got my brakes done on my car as part of regular maintenance. The next day I was driving home from visiting my mother, on a downhill slope that ended at a traffic light. Stepped on the brakes. Nothing, foot went right to the floor. I blew through the red light at that intersection going 80 km/h. Apparently, they forgot to bleed the lines. Third time. Had a tumor growing in my colon? Showed symptoms of it for years, which my doctors poo-pooed as PMS. When you're a physically fit 30-ish young woman, stomach and back pain can only be lady stuff, right? Symptoms got worse and worse, the pain was unbearable. Finally, my stomach started to bloat so much that I looked 9 months pregnant. I went to my doctor and the ER during that week, and each time was turned away. Finally, on my second visit to the ER, I told them that if I didn't get help was getting in my car and driving off the nearest high bridge I could find. They decided that maybe I was worth an exam and an x-ray. Turns out the tumor had grown so large I had a 100% bowel obstruction. Because of that, the food I had eaten was rotting inside my body. Surgeon told me without intervention I was at most 48 hours from death. The negligence of doctors over the years cost me several feet of colon, having to poop into a colostomy bag, and ongoing medical issues. There have been other incidents, but not as close. I feel like a cat, and I'm wondering what the next near misses will be before I run out of lives. 16-year-old farm kid me, stepdad told me to go pick up a load of corn seed for planting. I had gone with him many times before and driven the truck, full-ton dually diesel, and hauled light stuff with it. Nobody told me how different it is to haul 10,000 pounds of seed on a big flatbed trailer on gravel. I had a lot of common sense and was driving slowly and carefully. Still, 10,000 plus pounds pushed me down a gravel hill skidding, praying to God I stopped before the stop sign at the T intersection to a busy highway. I came to a grinding halt just as the front of the truck crossed the plane where the gravel turned to asphalt. A semi was coming from one direction and regular cars from the other. I shudder thinking about what if on that one. TL, doctor, don't let untrained kids tow potentially deadly, heavy trailers, with zero training. Not me, but my husband. He woke up one night while I was at work, third shift, with heartburn. He tried to ignore it and just go back to sleep, but our son, 6 months old at the time, had been very fussy all night, which was unusual. He rolled over and just tried to keep quiet so the baby would soothe himself to sleep. About an hour before I was off, the baby suddenly started crying like someone was beating him. My husband got up, with the heartburn still going, but when he picked up the baby, he felt his chest just burst into agonizing pain. His mom came and got the baby, who quieted down all of a sudden, and went back to being a happy baby. I rolled up, not even a minute later, and my husband was walking over to my car. His face went white, then yellow, with every heartbeat. I grabbed him so fast and tucked him into the passenger seat, and sped off to the hospital just down the road. As a thin, active man of 36, the triage nurse said it was probably a panic attack, and was he sure he wanted to be checked out. We were in luck that another nurse saw us losing our shit and came over with an ultrasound because my husband's blood pressure and everything else was reading normal. 100% blockage of his LAD artery, also called a widowmaker. This type of heart attack has a 99% mortality rate because it's such a sudden death. He had undiagnosed diabetes, so it wasn't cholesterol, which is what they were looking for. It was calcium. He made it through. He's 44 now, and our son beats us up every day. When I was a kid, my dad used to lead groups of college kids to Central and South America to build houses. One year he decided that we should ride the chicken bus from Guatemala City to Mexico City. Long trip. We got to the border and a soldier with a hell of a big gun got on the bus and looked around. Saw that we had about 15 college girls on the bus, and then went and talked to someone on the phone. About 2 minutes later, a bunch of guys with huge guns got on the bus and informed us that all the males had to get off the bus and line up in front of it. I remember that we did it. We just stood there alongside the bus while guys with big guns kept an eye on us. Soldiers crammed into the bus. We waited for what seemed like an hour. Finally, they got off the bus and we got back on and away we went. I remember my dad, the leader of the group, looking very pale and sweating bullets. It was one of those situations where it was easy to see that it could have gone very, very wrong.